anonymized so we can start filling buckets based on genetic profiles. So here's 1,000 people that have this genetic marker that consumed formulation number 1, and based on our genetic profile and this cannabinoid and terpene profile, this is the best type of plant medicine for that genetic profile. So that's our goal, is to collect that data and anonymize that data. And that's what we do right now. The data is anonymized. Your personal information resides on one server. Your DNA resides on a different server. The reports are dynamically built. We're HIPAA compliant, and we keep that information encrypted on both sides and anonymized.
See, this is the one reason why I have not gone to one of those big DNA, although I'm eternally curious about, my health risks and et cetera. But also people who have gone that route, there's enough information on that genetic report that they get that they could actually give that to you to get their cannabis profile done.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right on. I mean, like I said, we want to make sure that we provide a platform for everybody to learn what their genetic profile is, and you own your data. 23andMe doesn't own. They're going to give it to somebody else, but you own it as well. So 23andMe, Ancestry, all these other companies provide you your raw DNA. So you're able to download your raw DNA and upload it to our site, to our portal, and we'll translate that within a couple of minutes and provide you a report, a endocannabinoid report. Now, the caveat to that is we are only as good as the version of the array that genetic company used. So if 23andMe, if you had an earlier version of 23andMe, you have more coverage based on the SNPs that we're looking for. The later versions removed some of those genes, so you'll have less coverage. But it really is a good way to repurpose the raw data that you already have, and use that to get you a endocannabinoid report. And if you see, we still look for every gene, and if you see that certain genes are not included in your report, but you feel they're important for you, that you want to learn about them, then you would have to upgrade and purchase the full DNA swab test that we have.
So do you anticipate that there will be a time where people can go to a dispensary, or hopefully in the future just a regular drugstore, and give them some numerical codes that kind of identify what it is that they may or may not need in terms of cannabis profiles?
Yeah, I'm going to paint you a picture that I have in my head, and hopefully if I put it out in the universe, it's going to happen. So this is sort of what my big vision is for the industry. So we already have formulations. We filed IP on 14 different formulations. Half of them that include THC, the other half do not include THC. So we already have formulations that manufacturers have licensed that align really well with your genetic profile. But here's my big vision. So you go in, you have your DNA test. Your DNA test gives you genetic markers and gives you your personalized recipe, basically. So with that code, as you mentioned, you're going to be able to go into any dispensary, drugstore. But the way I see it, it's more of a compounding type of pharmacy situation. So when you go into a compounding pharmacy, you give your recipe, your prescription, or your suggested ratio. The compounding pharmacist actually makes that personalized formula for you. To take it one step further, using technology, you can actually have that formulation already made for you on the fly. We've seen a few different interesting technology platforms at CES, at the Digital Health Summit, that shows us that we can create in one sort of administrative fashion, in one vehicle, whether it's like a capsule, you can put every single one of the cannabinoids, terpenes, essential oils, everything else you need in one capsule. And the way you encode those different parts, it'll know how to time and release that medication. So if you can put all your medicine in one single capsule, for instance, and maybe actually avoid the digestive system in some of those that because you're a low metabolizer. Some of them may be metabolized or digested before they go into your liver. So there's different ways to be able to create that, but I completely agree with you. The way that I see the future is my personalized formulation stays with me wherever I travel. I'm going to be able to go into a facility and have my own personalized medicine created for me or waiting for me once I get there.
This is absolutely fascinating. And I have this belief, maybe it's ill advised or I don't know. It could be well informed. Who knows? But my belief is that we're going to find there are a lot of pharmaceutical drugs out there that would be obsolete if cannabis becomes so mainstream that it's used in this way where you're able to match the cannabis formulations to your genetic needs and deal with disease that you'd have to take 6 drugs for with synthetic pharmaceuticals, right? So I believe that there are so many of these drugs that would be obsolete with the exception of acute disease and infection and, varying things that obviously you're going to need pharmaceuticals for throughout your life at one point or another.
I just want to caution everybody that this is not a silver bullet. It's not a cure-all, because that's when we start getting into the snake oil. It's an amazing adjunct therapy. You're going to need other things. Like even genetics are not everything, because you have other things, other factors in your life. Living a healthy lifestyle, reducing stress, putting good things into your body, exercising, meditating, doing yoga, including cannabinoids. What all those things are going to do is they're going to help you get into homeostasis. And that's what our bodies really need, is they need enough substances, whether they're natural substances or ways, to be able to trigger our own endogenous chemicals that we already have, to be able to operate efficiently and effectively, so we can start healing and living our own optimal healthy lifestyle. So it's not just one thing, but we have to understand how prescription drugs are used. What are they used for? And right now, I think with the opioid epidemic and everything that happened, there's a positive silver lining to that, because we're going back and questioning our doctors, and we're asking them, what is it? Why are you prescribing this to me? What is it going to do? What is the side effect? And we're getting more into control of our own wellness plans. I don't really go to a traditional doctor, but a few years back, somebody talked me into going and getting like a traditional physical, and there was something that came low on my report, and my doctor was like, "You need vitamin D. Either stay in the sun, you need more vitamin D." I'm like, well, maybe I've been working indoors, I don't get enough sun. I live in LA, so there's a lot of sun, but I'm like, okay, I'll go with it. So he goes, I prescribe you vitamin D, which I thought was really odd, because vitamin D, I can probably go into a health food store. Why do I need a prescription? So went to my, local drugstore or whatever to get my prescription filled, and got my prescription, went home, and I opened up the bottle, and I read the label, and says 50,000 units. I was like, 50,000? That just doesn't sound right. Why so much? And I went to Google it, and people are listing, I'm experiencing bleeding, I'm this, I'm that. It's like 50, you don't need that much. That's the whole point, is that it was prescribed. I went ahead, did my research, and said, I am not putting this in my body, but many people do, because we trust our healthcare professionals. And this isn't a rant not to trust them, but this is a rant to partner with them. So you do your research, you partner, you do your due diligence, because it's all about you, your own body. So you come back educated, because your doctors don't know everything, and you communicate and have that conversation with your doctor about your endocannabinoid system. And if they're willing to listen, they'll partner with you in your own health and wellness plan. If they're not willing to listen, if they're going to tell you this is, snake oil and all that other stuff, maybe you have to make a decision about making a change or a shift in your healthcare professional relationship.
Well, therein lies the value of genetic testing to find out what is going on inside of your body so that you do know what you need. But we trust our doctors, but doctors trust the science. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of the science is being conducted by the pharmaceutical companies that are manufacturing the drugs. And as with the opiates, for example, there was a lot of data that was very misleading that came from the scientific testing the pharmaceutical companies conducted in order to get approved by the FDA. And those erroneous reports went out to the doctors who were relying on the science when they started prescribing these drugs. They were told that it wasn't addictive. And opiates have killed 50,000 people just in the last year. And so the doctors, yes, we can trust our doctors, but we have to understand that they're trusting science, and our government is not protecting us from the science that's coming from people who have a stake in the science they're submitting to get approved.
Agreed.
So it's very sad, actually.
And that's the other thing that we say, because and that's one of the reasons why we went to be or made the decision to be transparent. We're only as good as the science that exists today. So we do have artificial intelligence, we do have deep learning in place to be able to look at different studies and associate them so we can make suggestions based on references. However, if something new comes on the market, if something, if there's a new study, we will include that new information and update your report on an ongoing basis. So it's not static. That's one of the things that, because science, research, medicine, it moves so rapidly sometimes. Sometimes it's slow, but sometimes it's quick. What we want to avoid is contradictory information. So if somebody says it's this way, and then a year from now, they do another trial and they actually showed something different, we want to have the capability to be able to update your report and make it relevant to the timeline that it's in. It took us a long time to build that, but that's one of the things our patented technology does.
Yeah, being the person that believes that cannabis is such a universally healing substance that it could address so many things. But whether you believe that it can replace pharmaceuticals or not, it is still transforming the field of medicine in that we're beginning to take a more holistic approach in general. And we're starting to question that science. And I think that is very important.
No, I agree.
And that's a good thing. So I had another question for you about the compounding of formulations that'll work specific to a unique individual, depending on how they metabolize in order to get them into the right homeostasis for their life. Mm-hmm. Does it make a difference how this medicine is delivered? Like, for instance, would a liposomal technology impact that formulation for maybe a person with a slower metabolism? I am wondering, does it make a difference how this medicine is delivered? Like, for instance, would a liposomal technology impact that formulation for maybe a person with a slower metabolism?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Your delivery mechanism, it makes a huge impact. And liposomal, nano, emulsified technology, anything that can metabolize or absorb faster. If metabolism is even taken into consideration, you want to avoid first pass. So you want to avoid your liver altogether. So having smaller particles that get absorbed and metabolized quicker makes a lot more sense. However, you also need to make sure that you align the dosage in relationship to the method that you're using, because if you're using 30 milligrams of a cannabinoid product a day, and that's your ratio, and if you're going to use a liposome, you may want to reduce the dosage based on that as well. And the other thing is, you're absolutely right in terms of there's different delivery methods, and how you're going to consume those will impact your dosage, will impact the results, will impact your psychotropic effect. So, how quickly it passes blood-brain, which you can do you can smoke, you can vape, and it's I've seen injections, I've seen all kinds of different things that are coming out in this industry. And if you're going to consume something through the digestive system, it'll be slower. There's also transdermal technology, and we're testing some of those now on efficacy, but you want to see how quickly that is absorbed into your blood